I can no longer be bothered to change clothes between filming videos. Enjoy. Hey y'all! So, June is Pride Month, and even though Pride parades and stuff are cancelled, that doesn't mean we can't read some gay books. So, here are some queer book recommendations for you. Alright, so, my favorite short story collection, possibly the queerest book I've ever read, is No Man of Woman Born by Anna Mardoll. I love this book to bits. This is a short story collection centered entirely around non-binary and trans characters. There are neopronouns, there are gender-affirming prophecies, there are fae who want your real name, as in the name you chose for yourself, not the name you were given. It is so stunning, and I'm not a person who enjoys short stories just because I always want so much more, and I still want more with these short stories, but there's a whole world that's built around the stories that, like, the author doesn't shy away from only writing part of a story or giving you this huge world and then narrowing it down to like one person, and I absolutely love it. Can you tell how excited I am about this video? The book that has represented me the most is Let's Talk About Love by Kann. This book is focused on an asexual, biromantic black girl, and ooh, okay, this book knows exactly where to hit all of my insecurities about being ace. And it features the romance, the main romance in here is MF, but it starts off with an FF romance. And it's just, oh, yeah, I don't know. It's just, if you're ace, like, reading this book is kind of painful. But it was a lovely book to read for me, despite all that, and I did really enjoy the characters and the relationship. I will say the characters do feel a little young, and there's a couple of subplots that, like, there was a thing going on with the best friend that just kind of got smoothed over. But, like, overall, stunning, amazing, ouch. Of course, I have to recommend my fourth favorite book of all time, and that is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Jenkins Reid. This book is about Evelyn Hugo, who is, like, Marilyn Monroe famous. She's in her 70s, and she's auctioning off some dresses for charity, and so she is deciding to work with a writer to write a magazine piece about this charity auction. Except, she doesn't want her to write about the charity auction. She wants her to write about her life. And so this is Monique discovering Evelyn Hugo and writing her biography, and Evelyn's big scandal is that she has had 7 husbands. This book features bi-rep and an FF romance, and also a variety of queer characters. Evelyn is also Cuban, and with both this and Let's Talk About Love, clearly I am not Cuban or black, but reading about people's experiences like that, of feeling like sexualized because of your race, or for this book, feeling like not something enough because you're not that connected to the culture or the language, stuff like that, still is something that I could connect to very strongly. Owning books so that you can hold them up in a video and not edit them in sounds great until you have to get up and get those books. Another absolute fave of mine is Red, White, and Royal Blue by McQuiston. This book focuses on Alex, who is the son of the first female president of the United States. And he is half Mexican, and he has a quite public feud with the second crown prince of England, Henry. And this book basically starts off with them having an altercation in which the PR teams of both families are like, guys, we cannot destroy international relations because you two are fucking around. So, play nice. Pretend. So this book is like fake friendship to real friendship to they actually start fucking around, and it is such a fun, cute, fluffy romance. Also, all the sexy scenes in here are like fade to black, or like just it's implied what they do and then it just continues on with the story if you're concerned about that. This book features a bisexual character and a gay character, as well as other minor characters who are queer but like not specified. There's trans characters. This book is just so fun and so hopeful. I love it. A book that has a great, amazing queer romance, but also touches on faith and religion, is Autobiography by Christina Lauren. This book hurts. It is angsty as fuck. But like, it's so good. So Autobiography is about Tanner, whose family is moving back to his mom's very Mormon town. And he is bisexual, but he's basically not going to be out in this place because it's Mormon. And he attends a writing class in his new high school, and his TA is very hot, and also the bishop's son. And this is a story about this intersection of faith and queerness, and is also about accepting yourself and others, and just, it's such a good romance. And like, again, it's angsty as fuck, but it's so good. You want more angsty gay romance? Please have The Song of Achilles by Madeleine Miller. This book is my third favorite book of all time. Yes, I have a ranking. Don't talk to me about it. And this book is... It's a retelling of the Iliad by Homer, and the premise is that Homer never specified what kind of relationship Patroclus and Achilles were in, but like, we're pretty sure they were fucking, because like, you know, when you cry over your dead friend's body and won't let go of it and sob over it and like share a tent on the battlefield where there's adrenaline running, we're pretty sure you're fucking. And essentially Homer never specified they were gay and in love, but he surely didn't shy away from that either. And this has been a point of contention for scholars for so long. And so this is like the gay YA Iliad. This is another book that hurts if you know what happens in the Iliad. If you don't know what happens in the Iliad, don't look it up. Just read the book. It is, it's so good. It's such a sweet romance, and it also, I can't talk about it. Oh my god. I will link my reading vlog of this down below. I have no words to describe this book. Every time I've tried to talk about it, I find myself at a loss. I just love it so much. You thought I was done with the angsty gay boys? You are wrong. My next recommendation is The Fever Wake Duology by Victoria Lee. So the first book is The Fever King. This is the second book, The Electric Heir. And I finished the first book, and like the main thing that I remembered was the romance. And like, because we were living together last year when I read this, I would just like, for weeks afterwards, I would just like be like, gay angst, just randomly, because it's so good. The Fever King is about a world in which magic is a virus, and if you catch it and you survive, you can wield magic, which might be touchy because of the current situation. For me personally, I don't think it was, I mean, it's pretty important, like, to the world, but I don't think the storylines focus too much on it, though please take care of yourselves if that's not something you can really read right now. And essentially this book focuses on Gnome, who survives, and he's a technopath. So his presenting power is his power with computers and being able to like telepathically control them. And he is bisexual, and he says the actual words, bisexual isn't gay, when he's talking about his sexuality, and it's great. And it's a story of Gnome who is also the son of undocumented immigrants, by the way. And it's a story of him learning his powers, which are all science-based. It's a story of this angsty gay romance. It's a story of rebellion and revolution and not really knowing who to trust. And the villain in this is so subtle and terrifying when you start noticing all the little things he does, and it hurts even more when you get into the electric air. Oh my god. Okay. And pretty much everyone in this book is queer or queer-coded. Gnome is bi, Dara's gay, Ames is queer, Lair's gay, Bethany, everyone's queer. Also, Lair's Jewish, Gnome's Jewish. It's just the smorgasbord of amazingness. Oh my god, this book also has the line, "fuck the fash" in it, so, you know, it's kind of stunning. I think for a while Victoria Lee had their Twitter bio as dirty commie author of The Fever King, which is just amazing. A book I read and loved this year was Zenobia July by Lisa Bunker. This is a middle grade book about a trans girl. She's going to a new school, she's making friends, and while her being trans is an important part of her story, it's not just about her being trans. Like, it's important because it's part of her, but that's not like the super main storyline, and there's so much more about her. Like, she's a computer whiz, and she's living with her two aunts who have a friend who's a drag queen. Her best friend uses Zzer pronouns, and there's so many characters, and it's so much more about like the relationships that she makes and has, and this whole community, and I just loved it. And it's also a book that, while it's middle grade and it's not super focused on this, it's also like it doesn't shy away or sugarcoat things like dysphoria or the fear of being outed. I think honestly everyone should read this book. It's just so good and so wholesome, but it's also it's just such a great story about a trans girl. Radio Silence by Alice Oseman is such an important book to me. It's a book I really wish I'd read when I was younger. And it focuses on Frances, who is someone who like draws fan art for this podcast that she loves. It's like her favorite thing in the world. And she's actually eventually hired by the podcast creator to draw some art for the podcast, official art. And she eventually finds out that the podcast creator is Alid, perfect, studious Alid, head boy in school, all that kind of thing. And they become really fast friends, and they work on the podcast together. They're like the best of friends, and it's also so much about the doubts of university and not knowing like what you want to do or what's right for you. And there is touching on like mental health and stuff, so like be careful with that. And it is kind of about like accepting your sexuality, and just, another book I don't really know what to talk about, but like, if you've read Eliza and Her Monsters, this book is kind of along the same vein, and it's absolutely stunning. Like, again, I wish I'd read this when I was younger, before I went to university and stuff, because I think it made me feel so seen and validated, but also like, I don't know, it was just so important and monumental for me to read this, even though I was already in university when I'd read it. I'm gonna recommend a couple of books now where the main character is queer, but it's not a huge part of the story. The first one is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. In this book, April May, the main character, is bisexual, and while it's definitely touched on and she's in an FF romance and all that stuff, it's not like a major part of the story at all. It's just her, you know? And so, An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, it's about April May, who discovers this kind of like statue, robot, art exhibit piece in the middle of New York. And she films like a fun, charming video where she pretends to interview it and she names it Carl. And the next morning it's gone absolutely viral because in the middle of the night, in 63 other major cities across the world, Carls have all landed. No one knows how they got there, who put them there. All security footage was looped during the time the Carls were set, and they came back on with the Carls already there. And it's a story about humanity and what we believe about humanity. It's a story of fame and how that can be destructive and how you can lose your sense of self. This book, along with Red, White, and Royal Blue, are both books that make me so hopeful and are really interesting looks at humanity. This also has a puzzle in it. There's also, like, it's not like a thriller by any means, but there's definitely some scenes that made me like, because I was just like, oh my god, okay, this book, like, I read it so quickly. I flew through this the weekend it came out, and like, it's just so good, and it's still stunning, like, when you reread it, and the sequel comes out in July, which I am definitely reading. Okay, this has been so fun to film. I love talking about my favorite books, and I hope you read some of these in June, but also just whenever, because we shouldn't read queer books just because it's Pride Month. We should read queer books because queer people are just part of our lives. And I've recommended as much of the spectrum as I can think of, so asexual, gay, bisexual, lesbian, transgender, non-binary, demisexual. So I really hope you get your hands on some of these and read them. I hope you enjoyed this video, and me and my queer ass will see you sometime. Goodbye.